All right, hello and welcome to another episode of the Create It Studios podcast. My name is Sean Moore. I'm an alumni relations representative down at Full Sail University. I am super excited about today's guest. We've got Terry Watson, a true vet of the music industry whose career bridges music production, audio engineering, and studio operations. Terry's work has touched nearly every corner of the industry, from major label releases to Nashville-based publishing and independent artist projects. Over the years, his contributions, both creative and technical, have played a part in an astonishing list of achievements: more than 20 Grammy Awards, 50 Dove Awards, 90 number one singles and albums, and over 285 gold, platinum, or multi-platinum certifications. We'll dig into some of his experience and get behind those numbers and explore the business and creative sides and how those industries intersect. And we're also going to take a talk about what it really takes to sustain a career at this level. But first off, Terry, welcome.
Thank you so much.
So excited you're here.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
We're honored to have you, and we're just excited to have you in Create It Studios.
Yes.
You've been here before, though, correct? Or is this your first time?
No, I've been here a couple times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Once while the walls weren't quite up yet.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, you got that behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
But it was exciting.
Yeah.
It's really exciting to see the finished product. This is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So this must feel like a little mini Full Sail inside of a Walmart for you, right? So.
Yeah, kind of. Well, I mean, my memories of Full Sail are pretty distant, though. It's been a long time since I've been down to the school. But yeah.
And what year did you graduate?
Well, 1995.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, and I wanted to kind of start with your journey. How did you find your way into like music production and studio work? And was there like a particular moment that you might remember where you were like, you know what, this is the path I want to take with my career?
Yeah, it came before I knew anything about Full Sail. I was at college in Indiana, Anderson University. I had the opportunity to chat with a producer who was at a studio. I don't know what he was working on, but I had a chance to interview him, and he was someone that I had seen in liner notes growing up as a kid. I was a fan of contemporary Christian music, and he had done a lot of that work in that vein. And so I was asking him, like, this music producer thing, what is that about? What's it take to do that? And he was talking about how that role is really one that is ultimately responsible for the creative process, but the more that you can communicate with creators and communicate with the technical team that supports the creative process, the better producer you'll be. And I realized at that point I'd been studying, I was a music business major, but I'd really been focusing on instrumental performance, music theory, orchestration, that kind of stuff. And audio was foreign. I knew I was interested, but I knew nothing about. I couldn't have told you what a compressor was, So when he talked about that, I talked to my my advisor at school, and she helped me find places that really focused in training people in the audio specific areas. The program I was in wasn't necessarily focused on that, and I was able to go to Full Sail to visit. They used to have the Dreams Across America.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, it's probably legendary status at this point.
That's legendary for me, and I've been there 24 years, so that's awesome.
Yeah, so that was crazy. It was, within a 24-hour period, I borrowed a friend's car, drove to Cincinnati, got on a charter plane, went down, I don't know, 15, 16 hours of presentation. Then you get back on the plane, go back.
Yep.
When I got back to school, I called my parents and I was like, I've got to drop out of college and go to Florida to study, audio.
I found this place in Orlando.
Yeah, that was an interesting conversation with the folks for sure, but they were very supportive and ended up being able to come down, and it was an amazing experience.
That's awesome. That is so cool. Yeah. I've heard some wild stories about the old dream flights, that's just like so cool though that they were doing that. It's such an innovative approach to getting people to just come and take a look at the school. So
and really awesome. I mean, I was looking into other places, but there was no other place that was offering anything like that to come and get a taste, look behind the curtain to see what it takes to, build a professional build a professional presence in this industry. And Full Sail, they were like, here it is. Here's how it works.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
When was the last time you were on campus?
I did stop by. I was trying to think of this yesterday. We took our kids to Disney World. I think that was about 15 or 16 years ago.
Oh, wow.
It's been a while since I've been
There's been a lot
down
of
there.
changes.
Yeah.
Some really cool additions, new studios, new live venues.
Yes.
So next time, if you do another Disney trip, you got to let us know. Tell
Definitely.
Katrina you're coming. And we'll get you a tour.
Yeah, I'd love to.
No, that's awesome. That's so cool. Since you graduated in 95, you've seen the music industry really evolve, across, digital, analog, from labels to streaming. How has that evolution kind of changed the way that you approach production and artist development?
Oh, wow. Well, it's had a huge impact on the creative process as a whole. My participation in it for the past, I'd say 24 years has been really from more of an engineering perspective or technical supporting role. I still love to create and function as a producer, as a music maker, but primarily professionally, my role has been one where I'm facilitating from a technical perspective. And of course, the changes in technology have to be right at the front of our view. Going from format changes for archival to I was telling one of the young guys at our studio, I mentioned something about an M-Box and a Digio O2, and he had no idea what those things were. I'm realizing, oh my gosh, that's like the stuff of history now.
Yeah.
But those are the things that really shifted how creativity happens, because they enabled people to move from the large commercial spaces where they're relying on experienced technicians with, top flight gear to you can do this in your bedroom. And that being part of that, living through that, there were things about that excited me. There were also things that frustrated me because it changed people's view of, do I really need an engineer? Do I really need a producer? Or should I just do this myself? So there have been ups and downs, certainly, with the evolution of those technologies.
Definitely. Yeah. And, with your experience, going through a lot of those changes, what kind of advice would you give to maybe someone that's in school now down at Full Sail and they're getting ready to launch into a career in this industry? What kind of advice would you give them about just saying, hey, things are going to change. There's going to be different things. AI is coming on and, all that.
Yeah. The one thing I would say is your academic experience should be teaching you how to continue learning. Yeah. Because once you graduate, the learning hasn't stopped, or it shouldn't, or you're not going to go anywhere. Yeah. That's something I don't know that anybody said that to me. That's something I kind of had to learn the hard way, because I would kind of get content at different stages and think, okay, I'm at a good spot, and then things would change, and if you don't change with the times, you're left behind. So that's one of the big things, is continue to be curious, continue to be eager to learn, and look for any opportunity to continue to, dig that well deeper.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's great advice, because that is something that happens. I if you don't use Photoshop for that long, the new versions come out and the tools are all different. I'm a graphic designer, so that's my experience with it. So that's really good advice. That's awesome. Terry, you've worn a lot of hats, creative, technical, administrative. How do you balance those roles? And, which side of the work energizes you the most?
Energizes me. Wow. That is, I don't know that anybody's posed that question like that to me before. I guess what energizes me the most is when collaboration breeds success, So when I've functioned, it's weird to think about this, but I can think of times where, working the spreadsheet the right way can be energizing, and I think those are things that, I know those are aspects that I would not have expected, and probably would have been skeptical if somebody said that to me when I was 22 years old, right? But Yeah, I've found that it really doesn't matter the role. If I am working together with people and there's that, synergy that you really hope to have.
Yeah.
When that's working well and you're producing success from that to me is energizing. Of course, I love, I've been playing piano since I was 5, so I love music.
Yeah, right.
There's no getting around that. I love like playing in my church's worship band and just doing whatever musically for fun. But yeah, I think when whatever you're contributing to is thriving and moving forward, to me that provides that energy and excitement.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
No, and I know what you mean about the spreadsheet, because I'm terrible at Excel, and if I can figure something out, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, right.
I'm pretty energized.
Yeah.
To take on some cells and rows and all that.
Yep.
No, that's
when
awesome.
that formula actually produces what you want it to. Yeah.
Right. But you've been a part of a lot of award-winning projects, a lot of award-nominated projects. Without naming any names, can you share what you think distinguishes the truly great artists or producers that you've worked with?
Well, it's hard to argue with longevity.
Yeah, true.
The ones that stick around and continue to not just create, but be part of innovative movements, and that's pretty impressive. Longevity in this business is that says a lot, I think. And that's not to say, if people can have really great success in a short amount of time too.
Right.
And I wouldn't criticize that at all. But it's really impressive to me when people, earlier you mentioned about just the evolution of technology. If you can continue to adapt your creative process to accommodate the changes in your tool sets, the changes in workflow that happen with the people around you, or even just being able to communicate and have that synergy that I was talking about with different generations of creators and technicians and business people. I don't know how you teach that. Some of that is just like, okay, that's a genius at work, but being able to find a way to maintain your creativity, your relevance in whatever you're doing over the long haul, that's pretty impressive to me.
And like you hit the nail on the head, because that's kind of, I don't want to say that's where I was hoping it would go when I asked that question, but you can kind of ask that question about an athlete, about, like that longevity is so amazing in any industry, in any, walk of life. So that's because there's so many factors that can pull somebody down or away or whatever. So that's really great. So awesome stuff there. With that being said, we're going to take a quick and short break to hear a word from our sponsor. We'll be right back with Terry Watson. All right, we're back with Terry Watson. Thank you so much after that short break and that word from our sponsor. Thank you very much. But Terry, I wanted to ask you about, Nashville specifically in the creative community. You've spent significant time in Nashville's music scene. And, I wanted to know, because I've only spent a few trips here in Nashville, but I want to know what do you think makes the community special, and how does collaboration work differently here compared to maybe some other markets that you've either worked with or have heard about, and whatnot?
Well, I'll just have to give you the caveat right up front. This is the only community I've really been a part of in terms of close proximity.
Cool.
And I do have relationships, outside of Nashville and professional, personal, but I can really only speak to what I've been a part of here in Nashville. And I will say, I think one of the things that really distinguishes Nashville is our sense of community and how, well, I'll just give you an example. I've been part of a monthly gathering of studio managers.
Oh, cool.
The various studios down on Music Row or Berry Hill area. And technically, we're all competitors with one another.
Yeah.
But beyond that, there's a there's a real community sense and a commitment that we all have to sort of take care of each other and look out for each other.
Yeah.
And it's that, rising tide floats all boats
That's
mentality.
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. And, I could name off a dozen of those folks and, tell you about like going to get lunch with them and stuff like that. And like I said, just kind of looking out for each other too in some cases. I see that among musicians. I see that among engineers. To me, that's pretty special. That may happen other places too, but those are some of the things when I think about why is it that I want to stay in Nashville, it's stuff like that. It's this sense of community, and I'm glad to have deep roots here, and I'm thankful for that.
That's awesome. I can see it just being here the last couple of days at Creative Studios where we have alumni, that it's like, oh, so-and-so is coming today. Oh yeah, I worked with them on this, or I know him or her from there. And it just seems like such a really cool, community. And I just think that's really special. That's awesome. I wanted to talk to you about, running a studio, in that culture, and like, running or managing a studio takes, a lot of artistry, but also logistics. What have you learned about building an environment that fosters great performances, but also creativity, as running a studio?
Yeah. You are constantly working to, maintain and grow functionality, but in a manner that does not distract from creativity. So, I know those are kind of some abstract terms I'm using, but like, we want to continue to find new tools, new ways to do things and make our processes more efficient and increase our capabilities. But you can never do that and sacrifice the flow of creativity. So we don't want technology tools to take the attention in a session.
Yeah.
Whether it's music, dialogue, whatever. We want the creators to be able to stay in their flow and continue working toward whatever that creative vision and that destination is. So whatever that means, if it just last week we were setting up for a session and we had a webcam set up so the artist and the client could see each other over Zoom, and we're realizing, man, the webcam's looking a little hazy. So what do? We run over to Walmart and get a new webcam, stuff like
Shout
that.
out to
Walmart. yeah, because you don't want those kind of things for the talent to notice that.
Right.
You want to keep those things as transparent as possible.
That's great.
So there are a lot of other things that go into it, but that's one of the first things that comes to my mind as a studio manager.
No, that's awesome. That's great. You mentioned about playing in your band, your church, worship band and all that. And I wanted to touch on just like faith and purpose. And, you've been a part of so many Dove award-winning projects. How has working in the Christian and gospel space kind of influenced your approach to producing and storytelling through sound?
Wow. Well, I grew up in a Christian home. I grew up a fan of contemporary Christian music, some of the pioneers of that. Bands like Petra and artists like Amy Grant, and
that was my first concert I ever went to, was an Amy Grant concert.
Yeah. I mean, those were the people that I grew up playing piano and playing stuff out of my lesson books, but it wasn't until I started playing along to the radio that music kind of that whatever that bug is that bites you, that's what made it bite me. Was realizing, I can do this with my hands, and it sounds like it belongs with what I'm hearing coming across the speakers, and that drew me in. But as far as how that all weaved together, I mean, I can't really talk about my career without talking about how God has led and intervened in different times. And I know, a lot of people have different perspectives on their faith and beliefs and that kind of thing. I just know I can only speak from what I've observed and what I've experienced. And because of my relationship with Jesus Christ, God's influence in my journey, the things that we talk about now what my journey's been over the last 30 years, I would have never plotted a course out that
Right.
led to this. It was only because, at a point in my early adult life, I felt like he was saying, hey, if you will yield your ambitions to me, I'll show you a way to do this that is, it's healthy, it's balanced, and it's going to be something that is fulfilling and gives you a sense of purpose. And so as a young man, I was like, yeah, that's great, because I don't know what I'm doing.
Awesome.
And I was just sharing that with someone else today. Like, as intimidating as getting started in this business can be,
Yeah.
AI, I mean, what is AI going to do to our industry 5, 10, 15 years from now? God knows. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I feel like for me, what I can testify is yielding those things to him and letting him direct me. That has been, if there was one key, that's it for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We had Leslie Brathwaite. Do you know Leslie? Have you met
I've
Leslie?
met him, but
Okay.
no, I don't really know him.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, he did a really cool session earlier this morning, and someone asked him, like, hey, do you ever worry or things, do you have these kind of thoughts? He's just like, no.
Yeah.
Like, God has put me in this place for a reason, and I know that I am where I need to be, and I don't worry about those things.
Yeah.
So it was actually a really cool moment, with that session this morning. But I love that you mentioned Amy Grant. We were having a conversation last night around the table, all of us, the crew that's up here from Full Sail,
Yep.
or our good crew here that is based in Nashville, and everyone's going around the table like, "What was your first concert?" And mine was Amy Grant. Michael W. Smith opened for her.
Yeah.
And it was like, this was in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Uh-huh.
1987, maybe 86, 87.
Oh, yes.
It was the Eye to Eye tour.
Yeah, that would have been
And,
a good one. Yeah.
I
think that was my first
concert.
Smitty concert too,
So-
Eye to Eye.
So that's really cool. I love that
Yeah.
you brought her up. That's really great. Good stuff. No, I love it, man. This is great. You've worked with and influenced so many people, and this is a really good question for especially students, because we always get these questions from them, like, "Hey, like, how do I find a mentor? How do I network?" And so, like, how do you view your role as a mentor, and what lessons do you try to pass on to the next generation of producers and engineers? And and really, the way I'm kind of asking this is in the eyes of maybe a student that's getting ready to graduate and kind of start their journey within this industry.
Yeah.
So.
Let me answer the first part first,
Okay.
and you might have to re-ask the second part. The first part, I really think of how we live as a matter of alignment and assignment. So alignment, what I've found is the most fruitful seasons of my life have been when I've been aligned with mentors. I've been aligned with people that I'm walking together with in relationship as peers, but then also having people that I'm pouring into as a mentor or whatever it be. I have kids. I have 4 kids, so that's kind of built in. That's always happening. But I will tell you, like, the professional seasons of my life that have been the most fulfilling have been when I've been in that place of having people that I'm pouring into and having people pouring into me as well. So I would encourage anybody getting ready to graduate or if they're, kind of in the early phases of getting this thing started, man, don't allow yourself to become siloed, because that's the temptation. We have these tools where we can just set up shop in our private spaces, our studio, and just work on our own. And that's great, but I would just encourage you, don't allow yourself to become isolated. Collaboration is one of the greatest sparks to creativity. And if you're not collaborating, you're missing out on something that you can't achieve by yourself. What was the second part of
So
the
it was
question?
more like passing on, lessons to the next generation, producers or engineers, or anyone in the music biz, really.
Well, one of the things that I tell anybody who will listen, you hear a lot about networking.
Yeah.
Networking is important.
Yeah.
But I think of networking as like a semicircle.
Yep.
What completes that circle is relationship building.
Yep.
So you got to get to things and be present to initiate those conversations and those relationships. But what really completes the circle is investing in being a part of a community, building relationships, and that only happens over time.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen at an event.
Right.
You know, my
Kind of
pastor
transaction, right? It's not like
yeah. My pastor says you can't make old friends.
Oh,
you can never make old friends. You got to
I
walk
like
it out
that.
with them. You
That's
know?
good.
Yeah.
That's
So
really good.
I would say for anybody getting started, just understand like there's a creative community wherever you are right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you can't make plans to move somewhere else, but wherever you are, like go ahead and invest in that creative community and pour yourself into it. Be willing to receive from it because there's probably more there than you are expecting.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's awesome. You know, I want to touch on, you mentioned alignment. And so it got me kind of thinking because I think I know what you mean by alignment. And I'm using this as an example when COVID hit and we had all of these folks that were instantly like, I don't have a job right now because everything is shut down.
Yeah.
And we hosted a virtual networking event and we could tell like there was like this energy where it felt like everyone was like, we're locking arms and we're going to get through this together. And these are people that are 10, 20 years out, have done well in the industry. And everyone was just kind of trying to align to say, hey, we're going to stick together. Is that when you said alignment, is that kind of, am I kind of interpreting that?
Well, that's part of it. The alignment I think of is I want to be aligned with mentors. I want to be aligned with peers. I want to be aligned with people I'm mentoring. But what you're describing, to me, that's part of the peer relationship that's really essential.
Right.
You know, again, like I was saying about the other studio managers, I don't want to view these people strictly as competitors.
Right.
And reduce our relationship to that because there's more to be gleaned from that if you approach those things with hey, let's be part of a community, let's help build something together. You know.
Yeah. No, that's great. I love that.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. You know, like this. Okay, so forgive me for this question because sometimes it's, you know, I know sometimes it's like, you know, I'm not asking you to be like humble. I mean, I would love for you to be proud of your achievements. We are proud of your achievements, but looking at all the awards and certifications, is there one that stands out to you? Like, do you consider kind of like your proudest achievement of all the accolades over the years? I
haven't really thought about it like that. I mean, what I'll clarify with that too is I've not personally received or been awarded with a Dove Award or a Grammy Award per se. I've been really blessed to be around a lot of amazing creators, a lot of amazing technicians and business people. And I think, you know, what I'm proudest of, I guess that any of those people, I think I could go back to them and they'd be happy to see me.
Nice.
You know?
Yeah.
I feel like that's why I'm here is to serve and to you know, just enhance somebody else's quality of life, enhance their creative process, or enhance something about our interaction. And that, I guess that's what I feel like. To me, that feels like success is when people would say, "Oh yeah, we're glad to have him around." You know.
Nice. I love that. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that. All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. This has been another episode of the Create It Studios podcast. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Woo!